I imagine that you want to achieve some level of English fluency. And I have one question for you. Are you working hard or hardly working? I thought it was funny. It's just a joke, and that's what I want to talk to you about in today's lesson. And if you enjoy jokes and laughing while learning English, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English, which is all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And right now, I want to test you to see how far you've come along when it comes to English fluency. As you probably know, jokes are brief stories, observations, or thoughts that have a setup followed by a punchline that creates laughter. And this is an important phrase when talking about jokes. And I have quite a bit of vocabulary in this lesson, but a punchline is the last part of a joke or story that explains what previously happened or explains what makes it funny. So what does this have to do with English fluency? Well, when you understand jokes in another language, it really shows that you have a deep understanding not only of vocabulary, grammar, or pronunciation, but other cultural aspects as well. Let's begin with wordplay. And there are many types of jokes that use wordplay. Puns, one-liners, double entendres. We'll talk about all of them. That question that I asked you at the very beginning uses wordplay. Are you working hard or hardly working? And even though the phrases working hard and hardly working, they sound similar, they're really opposites. And the key words are those adverbs, hard and hardly, because hard is an adverb that means you put a lot of effort into something. You work hard, you play hard, while hardly, this adverb of degree, means barely. So this is a question that I would sometimes jokingly ask students. Sometimes they would get it, sometimes they wouldn't, but it's a fun question to play around with. Let's look at some more examples, and we'll begin with puns. And this is an amusing use of a word or phrase that has more than one meaning or just sounds like another word or phrase. Are you ready? Here we go. What did the duck say when the waiter gave him the check? Put it on my bill. Okay, so in this case, we're talking about a duck bill versus bill, meaning check. And that joke may seem a little cheesy, which is an adjective that you could use to describe a joke that's low quality, but I have more. The next one, I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me. That may also be a little cheesy. Facial hair can grow on you, but if something grows on you, you can use that to say that you get used to it. Let's now listen to some, and this, well, first one's from Doc Talk, and I will put links to these sources down below in the description, all right? Let's listen to this.
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Okay, so we're talking about the word balance. If you're checking a balance at the bank, then you just want to know how much money is in the account. But balance could also refer to your ability to stand vertically. And yes, he pushed her. All right, here's another one.
My dog accidentally ate a whole bag of Scrabble tiles, so I took him to the vet. No word yet. I like this joke. If you are not familiar with the game Scrabble, then it may not make much sense, because when you play Scrabble, you use letters to try to form words. So he takes the dog to the vet, and when he says no word yet, it kind of makes you think like the vet is trying to play the game and create a word. But no word yet could also be used to say that you just haven't been given any updates or you haven't heard any information. The next type of joke that I'm going to tell you, and it uses wordplay, one-liners. These are jokes, funny remarks, or answers that are really just one sentence, not always, but often. And the first one-liner is, I haven't slept for 10 days because that would be way too long. So in this case, If somebody says they haven't slept for a period of time, that means, well, they have not been sleeping. It's not a good thing. But you could also interpret this sentence as meaning somebody's not going to do this in the future because, yeah, sleeping for 10 days, that's just a crazy idea. And I know I'm explaining these even though you probably get it, but I'm not going to explain this next one. Are you ready? I don't like cocaine. I just like the way it smells. If you're familiar with cocaine, I'm sure you get the joke. I want to listen to some more one-liners, and this is from We Got the Chocolates. Again, links down in the description. Here we go.
Did you hear that the Dalai Lama has been arrested for gambling? Apparently he likes to bet.
So, this one's a little cheesy. The Dalai Lama, gambling, and the wordplay is the word to bet, because it sounds like the phrase to bet money, to gamble, as opposed to the place to bet. Here's another one.
My mate went for a colonoscopy last week. Absolutely wrecked him.
That is good,
This
David.
one, this one's a bit more difficult because we're talking about a colonoscopy. If you're not familiar with this, it's a medical procedure, and I'm not going to go into details as to what goes on, but the wordplay has to do with the word rectum, which sounds like the phrase wrecked him. And this is an informal phrase that means you're kind of just destroyed. It was just unpleasant. And that kind of sums up a colonoscopy. Another form of wordplay is a double entendre, which contains a phrase that could be interpreted in more than one way. And really, there's an obvious interpretation and a not so obvious interpretation that may be rude, inappropriate, sexual, or all of the above. And I have a few examples of double entendres. Here is the first one. We were just talking about one-liners. So this caveman one-liner, hi there, I'm fully erect. I actually think both meanings are pretty obvious. The one, you're kind of standing erect, and the other one I'm not gonna talk about. The next two, I think, are especially funny because these are actual news headlines. Like this one, A-Rod goes deep, Wang hurts. So this is referring to baseball, but again, it has, another interpretation that is sexual and pretty ridiculous. But not as ridiculous as this news headline, which is, this is pretty bad. Julia Roberts finds life and her holes get better with age. So this headline has a typo. Instead of the word holes, they meant to say roles in talking about her roles in movies, but they didn't say roles, and because of that, it's rude, inappropriate, sexual, all of the above. Now, we can't talk about jokes without talking about satire, which is the humorous use of irony or sarcasm to ridicule people, ideas, institutions, as well as social structures. And I think one of the best sources for satire is an American newspaper called The Onion. And I love The Onion. And I'm from the United States. And many of the articles are related to the US, so some of these jokes may be a bit more difficult to understand because apart from vocabulary, it also involves current events and culture. So let's look at some news headlines. New community health program teaches low-income Americans to ignore symptoms. So I think this is in two parts, taking a shot at the American healthcare system, which is a bit of a mess, as well as commenting on how lower income people are just not treated well. Here's the next one. Nerd who spent the summer getting into shape quickly discovers bully worked out twice as hard. All right, so this is, these stories are not true. They're made up, but it's pretty funny. Here's a political one. Trump turns self into Atlanta strip club. And I think this is a current event. But I think it's funny because I could actually see Trump heading over to a strip club in Atlanta. But the paper makes fun of all politicians. New poll finds most Americans see Biden as too old to effectively lead Congo line. So taking a shot at Biden's age, but also if you're unfamiliar with a Congo line, this is a dance that I think is associated with older people. They form that line and the person in front is the leader. But yeah, Biden, he's a bit old. Elon Musk sues Mark Zuckerberg for being better at profiting off someone else's idea. Okay, maybe that's true. And no way to prevent this, says only nation where this regularly happens. Commenting on the gun violence in the US and people constantly, oh, there was no way to prevent this. Really? So these are great examples of satire. You gotta love The Onion. Again, link down in the description. And if you understood most or all of these jokes, well then I would say that you are pretty fluent in English. And if you did understand most or all of them, let me know down in the comments. You can even tell me which one you thought was the funniest. I hope you found this lesson useful and humorous. If you did, please hit that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.